I got these animals on their little ration. Their ration right now, okay. Oh well. I'm still scaring the animals, so I'm not gonna get too close. I'll just leave them alone. But if you take a look at the ration, you can tell that I got some corn in there, and it's some creep pellets. And so right now the big goal is to get these animals switched over to just straight corn. And right now the average weight of my herd, I would say, because I have so many big animals as well mixed in with the small animals, the average weight of my herd is probably somewhere around 500-600 pounds when I include all of the big animals. I got a lot of wind out here this morning, and so when I think about the average weight of my herd being about 500-600 pounds, I'm looking to give them about 5 to 6 pounds of corn a day each. And right now these animals are getting about 3 pounds, about 2.5 to 3 pounds of corn a day each. And so I'm slowly increasing the amount of corn in their diet. And this next week, when I go and I sell the big animals, when I sell some big animals, I'll need to reduce the corn again. Because okay, so my big thing right now is that I have these animals on a creep pellet to mix in with their corn, because I don't want to cause digestive problems in these animals. And I know that it's gonna, at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to end up spending about an extra $200. You know, it's gonna cost me, like if I were feeding just straight corn, I could save about $200. But I don't really care about the $200 right now. My big thing is that I want to keep these animals healthy. You know, I got them vaccinated 2 days ago. The animals are finally in a condition where they look very good. The animals that I have back here are noticeably putting on weight, and they are eating a lot of food. And so these animals back here, I want to keep them healthy. That's my always my big number one priority goal. You know, over these last couple weeks, I actually I got a calf, number 33 fell over this morning, and by tonight I think she's gonna have died by tonight. She's been sick for a long time, and you know, I've given her 4 rounds of antibiotics, and she's out front, and I found her in the corner this morning, and she fell over, and so I don't think she's gonna make it. I'm just gonna be honest, I think by tonight she will be dead. And my big goal right now is to keep these animals healthy. I'm not looking to cause any digestive problems in these animals. I'm looking to just keep them gaining, and keep them eating, and keep them comfortable, and keep them happy. And so over the last couple days, I have been running animals in and out of the chute like nobody's business. I mean, I've been giving all the sick animals antibiotics. I've been looking to get my my herd in a state of health that I am able to give them all vaccinations. And 2 to 3 days ago, I ran the entire herd. I ran every single one of these animals through except for about 4 or 5, about 6 of the big ones. The big animals, I didn't give them vaccinations. I gave Big Boy a vaccination for IBR, BVD, and Mannheimia hemolytica, Pastorella. But all of the small animals and a couple of the bigger animals, I ran them all through the chute. I ran all of them through the chute 2 days ago, and I gave them all their vaccinations. You know, from my understanding, it is not a good idea to give sick animals vaccinations. You know, if the animal is running a fever, the vaccination is not going to work properly. And so, you know, I had to get these animals healthy first. I had to get them healthy, cleared of illness. I had to make sure that the animals were in a state of good health before I gave them their vaccinations. And so, you know, I gave them their vaccinations 2 days ago. And right now the animals are, well, except for that calf over there, number 44, that's walking away. She kind of a little wonky, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on with her, but I mean, she's eating, and she just doesn't eat very much. But I mean, I'll have to keep an eye on her. But I may have to put her through the chute for a retreat with the antibiotics. But these animals are healthy enough to start. So I gave them all vaccinations 2 days ago. I ran them all through the chute. And so here's the thing, I posted the checks that I receive from the cattle business, right? And so, I mean, it's like public information. I posted my receipts. When $20,000 is not that big of a deal for me. $25,000 is not that big of a deal. I said it repeatedly in my previous videos, but it was harder for me to watch my animals die than it was for me to lose $25,000. Because here's the thing about the money, right? Is that over the last 6 months, $20,000, I make $20,000, I can make $20,000 in 3 weeks, right? It's not that big of a deal. I can make $25,000 in less than a month. It's not that big of a deal. When I was, I got receipts posted of my cattle checks. When I get these animals to a good size and I take them to the market, I get close to, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800, sometimes even $2,100, like $2,000 per animal. And so, I have checks that are, $700, $800, and I get them every single week. Like if I took my big animals to the market right now, like Big Boy, I'd probably get somewhere close to, $1,800 on him. And so, and that's just one animal. And so, the $25,000, I don't really care about the 25. I'm not going to say I don't care about the 20, because I do care about the $25,000. But when all of this was happening, I wasn't sitting here like going, oh my God, I'm losing $25,000. I was sitting here going, oh my God, my cattle are dying. My cattle are sick. I need to get a handle on getting my herd healthy. That was what I was worried about. That was what I was thinking about. I'm not, the money is whatever. I'm not gonna say it was not pleasant to lose $25,000, but $25,000, realistically, I make $25,000 in like 3 to 4 weeks, right? The money is not that, the money is not a big deal for me. I'm not saying it's not a big deal because people know by this time that I'm about my money. I go and get some, I go and get a lot of money. I make it a point in my life to make money. I gotta have the money, right? And so, but the $25,000, okay, but here's the thing is that so I think as a businessman, I think something that I can tell people about that most people do not know about, as a businessman, because I'm a self-taught businessman. I taught myself business. I taught myself farming. I'm a first-generation farmer. I taught myself how to farm. I'm not a first-generation businessman. My father is a businessman as well. And from my understanding, my grandmother was a businessman or was a businesswoman as well. And so, at a point in her life, my grandmother was a businesswoman. And but she was in North Korea, and then when the North Koreans started, or when the communists invaded Korea, she ran to South Korea and she lost 3 of her toes and all sorts of it was a horrendous mess. But yep, that's a story for another day, right? But I'm a self-taught businessman. I'm a self-taught farmer. I'm a first-generation farmer. And something that I know in business that I think a lot of people do not know in business is that cash flow, making money is not just money, right? In the American system, we live in something called the fiat system. And in the fiat system, debt is as good as cash. Debt is as good as money. And so, like when I say over the last 6 months, I made $60,000. I made $10,000 a month over the last 6 months. And I have receipts to prove it. I've posted all of my receipts. I was clearing like $6,500 a week in the cattle business, right? And so, the cash flow, that is cash flow. So like when I go to the sale barn and I sell 4 animals and they give me a check for $7,500, that's $7,500. That's cash flow. That is money that I've put into my bank, and that is cash flow. But access to capital is different than cash flow. Like, let's say I have cash flow and then access to capital. So I may have myself, I may have made $60,000, but the bank also gave me $30,000 as credit, as access to capital. So the bank said, oh, Mr. Chung is here in the bank right now looking for some money. Let's give him some money. You know, Mr. Chung known for making a lot of money. Let's give him some money. And so they'll say, okay, here you go, Mr. Chung. Here's $30,000, and you can use it however which way you like. It's 0% interest, but you have to pay the loan back within 15 months. That $30,000 that the bank gave me with the 15-month term on it with 0% interest, I can utilize that just like cash. I can walk into an establishment and purchase cattle, and instead of using my money, I can also, I can utilize the bank's money. I can give them the bank's money and nobody would know. I mean, it's the credit that the bank gave me is just as good as me going into the establishment and using money for myself. So over the last 6 months, I may have made $60,000, but I also got $30,000 from the bank. So over the last 6 months, I have access to $90,000. I may have cash flowed $60,000, but I have access to $90,000 worth of capital. And so here's the thing, right? Like, when I look at my money, the thing about, realistically, at the rate that I make money, making a lot of people, I think that it's hard for people to comprehend, because a lot of people, they don't know what it's like to make $7,000 a week, right? Making $7,000 a week after week after week after week after week for like 8 weeks straight. The money adds up fast. I mean, in 2 months, that's about $48,000. And then I throw in another, $7,000 that I made on a W-2. Now I'm sitting on about $55,000, right? And it was actually more, if I need money, like if I desperately need money, let's say, right now what I need is money. I can just take my biggest animal and sell them. And if I take my biggest animal and sell them, boom, that's $1,500, $2,000, and so, as a businessman, access to capital and cash flow are two separate things. Like, if I make $7,000 and I go to the bank and the bank say, okay, Mr. Chung, over the, let's say, okay, so let's say I take this, this example that I have given, and I put it in another sense. Okay, so let's say I have $7,000 on me, right? Let's say I have $7,000, and I have, I have good credit, and I want to open up access to capital. So if I have $7,000 and I go to the bank, instead of me just utilizing the $7,000, I can go to the bank and I can show them, because me, I make a lot of money. If I really wanted to, I could go right now and purchase another 60 animals. That is how much money, it's hard to like, really, because there's a lot of finite numbers that go on, like making, having access, opening access to $90,000 worth of capital in 6 months. Even if I lose 25,000 of it, it still leaves me, I could still go right now and purchase 60 more animals if I felt like it. I've been saying this repeatedly, but I made enough money in the cattle business over the last 6 months to purchase myself about 120 animals, and I've only purchased 60. And so, realistically, I could wake up, I could go right now, I could turn this video off right now, and I could go and purchase another 60 animals if I felt like it. I have receipts to prove that I make, like $6,000-$7,000 a week in the cattle business. The cattle business makes me a lot of money. And so, the money is not something that I'm worried about. And, and especially if I have leverage, because if I have leverage, I don't need to utilize my own cash. I can utilize the leverage and just pay the debt service, right? And so let me take the example of access to capital to another point, right? So let's say if I got $7,000 and I go to the bank and I want to purchase a piece of land, right? Well, if I want to purchase a piece of land, And let's say like a 20-acre piece of land here, about an hour away, will cost about $200,000. So what is $200,000 in terms of a 30-year finance, right? A 30-year finance for $200,000 would be about $1,000 a month. And so if I went into the bank, you know, I could get a $200,000 loan to purchase a piece of land on a 30-year finance for about $1,000 a month. And you know, when you really crunch the numbers, you're gonna find out that $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. 30 years, that's $360,000. So the bank is essentially doubling their money, you know, by giving the person the loan, by giving the person the $200,000 loan for $1,000 a month. You know, that $1,000 a month over a long period of time, I end up having to pay the bank back 360 grand. But here's the thing, is like the bank may be doubling their money, but if I take that $200,000 loan and I operate a business that makes me, you know, $500,000 a year, $200,000 a year, you know, 20 acres, let's say it makes me $250,000 a year. Let's say I pay the bank $1,000 a month. They give me access to 200 grand. I invest the 200 grand into starting myself a farm, and then the farm produces me $250,000 a year. It is in my best interest to just pay the bank the $1,000 a month and focus on making the $20,000 a month, right? It's in my best interest to just take the loan from the bank, pay the bank the $1,000 a month, and then I can make my $20,000, right? $20,000 a month. And so, you know, that's the difference between cash flow and access to capital. You know, I may have cash flowed I may have put $60,000 in my bank account over the last 6 months, and then realistically I used about $15,000 to pay for my mortgage and to pay for my truck and to pay for the, you know, to keep myself happy. It cost me about $15,000 over the last 6 months. But the rest, okay, here's the thing, right? Like, let's say, the money at a certain point, it becomes unspendable. The only way for me to utilize capital to utilize capital at a rate of like $15,000 a month, you know, because if I have access to $15,000 a month of new capital every single month, right? It is not possible, unless I am being a complete moron, for me to spend $15,000 a month. I mean, if I go and I buy like a Lamborghini, or I go and I buy like something real stupid, I mean, I would have to be a complete freaking idiot, a complete moron, to spend $15,000 a month. I mean, it's just not possible. You know, me paying for my mortgage, me paying for my truck, me paying for everything that makes me happy, it turns into about $2,350 a month. You know, it's just me. And here's the thing about me, is that, you know, this is also very, you know, I feel very blessed that I don't have anybody on my ship except for me. Because if my ship goes down and it's just me on it, what does it really matter, right? I don't really care. You know, I'll bail myself out. I can just, you know, it's just me, right? I mean, it's just me on my ship. If my ship goes down and it's just me, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if I had kids and I had a wife and all this and that, if my ship went down, that would be a very, 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 you know, it would be very like difficult, right? But it's just me. And so, you know, you know, it cost me $2,300 a month over about 6 months. It cost me just under $15,000 to pay for everything: my truck, my mortgage, my insurance, everything. It cost me just about $15,000. And so imagine having, you know, so 90,000 minus 15,000 is $75,000. There is literally zero way for me to spend $75,000 in 6 months. It's just not going to happen. The only way for me to utilize capital at that capacity, at $75,000 every 6 months, is to run a business. Realistically, it is either to run a business or to invest. And, you know, a business is also an investment. And so, you know, it's like two birds with one stone. And so, you know, me, the $20,000, the $25,000, it's kind of just a glancing blow. To me, it's like, oh, you know, it kind of happened, but it just kind of glanced off of me. But the hard part was watching the animals die. That was the hard part. That was what I was having a lot of difficulties with, was watching the animals die. You know, that was the difficult part. the money, realistically, I could turn this video off right now and I can go and purchase another 60 animals if I felt like it. But that's what money looks like. If I opened up $90,000 worth of capital in 6 months and I cash flowed $60,000, that's $15,000 a month that I have access to. If it cost me, $2,500 a month for me to pay for all my bills and to keep myself happy, that still leaves me $12,500 a month. And so, the money, I can always go and get more money, and I have enough money as of right now to go and if I wanted to, I could go and purchase 60 more animals. It's not that, if I really wanted to, I could. And so, the money is not the hard part. The money is not the hard part. The hard part was watching the animals die. That was the hard part for me. And I'm still working on getting these animals squared away, and once these animals are squared away, I'll be investing almost $2,000 into new facilities to hold the new cattle and to set up a working system so that I can get the cattle into the chute very rapidly. And so so far I'm on track to keep myself on pace to keep myself on track. My number one priority right now is to get these animals straightened up. And once these animals are straightened up, I got to get the new working pen put in place. That's going to cost me almost $2,000. And once I got my new working system in place, the new working system will also be a holding pen for new cattle. And so the holding pen for new cattle will be where, I'm going to grain train, and I'm going to precondition the cattle in the new holding pen. I'm going to precondition them, grain train them in the new holding pen, give them all their vaccinations before I let them out here. And, and so that's I'm just keeping myself on track to get everything done. These animals are just about turned around. They're healthy enough. I got them all vaccinated. I need to get the new working pen set up, and once the new working pen is set up, I will be and I got to get some of these bigger animals to the market. And once that has all been finished, I will be bringing in new animals. And when I start bringing in new animals, that's kind of all of these things happening. They're like my 1 month goals. My 1 month goals right now to get these, these animals they're all just about healthy. They're all just about turned around. They've all been vaccinated. They're all noticeably gaining weight. I need to get that working pen set up, the new holding pen set up. And once I get the new working pen and holding pen set up, at that point I will be ready to bring in new cattle. And when I bring in the new cattle, I got a new plan put in place to get them. I'm going to precondition them in the working pen. I'm going to give them all their vaccinations. I'm going to get all the bulls castrated, and I'm going to get everybody situated in the new working pen. And and that's going to be those are about the 1 month plans that I got right now. In terms of my short-term plans, that is what is going on in my farm right now. But that's it for me today, YouTube. You have a good one.